News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Northern Steel Buildings. Since Monday, 12 Utahns died of COVID-19, and among Utah's 3,673 total COVID-19 deaths during the pandemic, 191 of them are from Cache, Box Elder, and Rich counties. The Utah Department of Health reporting 920 new positive cases of coronavirus since yesterday, 77 of those in northern Utah. That leaves the state's rolling 7-day average for positive tests at 1,107. Today's COVID report indicates 498 Utahns are hospitalized with COVID-19, which is 5 fewer than Monday's report. Also, 200 of those patients are in intensive care, 4 fewer than Monday. Since the start of the pandemic, total COVID hospitalizations now number 26,752. As of today, Utah Department of Health reported 97.1% of all ICU beds in Utah are occupied. Hospitals say any figure over 85% is considered to be functionally full. Utah has recorded now 614,270 positive coronavirus cases since the pandemic began. The total northern Utah case count has reached 34,368. 33,214 are listed as totally recovered, while 1,608 individuals in the district have been hospitalized during the pandemic. KBNU News Time is 4:06. For tonight, we do have a winter storm warning in effect starting at 8 o'clock tonight, going till 11 o'clock Wednesday morning. This does take in the valley locations, Cache Valley, Utah portion, eastern Box Elder County, also the northern Wasatch Front, Salt Lake Valley included. Total snow accumulations of 2 to 5 inches on the valley floors, 4 to 8 inches along the benches. Travel could be very difficult, so travelers are advised to slow down and allow more time to reach your destination. The overnight low tonight is going to be near 20 with rain changing to snow. And then Wednesday, it pretty much goes away. A slight chance of snow in the morning, but then partly cloudy in the afternoon. But in its wake, much colder. Upper 20s for the high. By comparison, it's been to 53. Right now we have 49. We also have a wind advisory in effect until 6 o'clock this evening. Weather brought to you by U&I Furniture. With family around for the holidays, you'll need sofas to sit on, beds to sleep in, tables to eat at. Upgrade for less than you'd think at U&I. Always a better buy at U&I Furniture, downtown Logan, 28 West, 1st North.
Santa's sleigh carries lots of toys for girls and boys, but it's not quite big enough to fit a real building. Northern Steel Buildings can build you that custom building you've always wanted in a timely fashion. They specialize in custom buildings from commercial, industry, warehousing, shop, agriculture, and aviation that's built to last. Schedule a free consultation at northernsteelbuilding.com. That's northernsteelbuilding.com, or call them at 435-677-7300. That's 677-7300. Value from concept to construction.
KBNU News Time is 4:08. A 30-year-old Smithfield man has pleaded guilty to having sex with a 16-year-old girl. Dwight Hooker was originally arrested in August and is currently being held in the Cache County Jail without bail. Hooker participated in the virtual hearing in 1st District Court Monday afternoon. He accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to unlawful sexual activity with a minor, amended to a third-degree felony, and 2 drug possession misdemeanors in another case. Smithfield City police officers began investigating Hooker after he posted on a Facebook page that he had made a mistake during the end of last summer. He described knowing the victim was underage, but wrote that it wasn't that bad. Officers interviewed the victim, who admitted to sexting with Hooker before meeting up with him. She described feeling uncomfortable during the encounter, but Hooker forced her to stay. She said afterwards she felt used. Hooker spoke briefly, telling the court he was guilty of the charges and wished to waive his rights to a fair trial. He could be sentenced to up to 5 years in prison. And a critically ill Hiram baby is fighting for her life at Primary Children's Hospital, and family members are seeking the public's help for them during this difficult time. Dakota and Amber Gordon of Hiram are having a rough December with 3 other 5 children fighting RSV, which is a common respiratory virus that became especially serious for their 1- and 3-year-olds. Jessica Harwood, Amber's sister, said the 2 youngest children were hospitalized. 3-year-old Zayden was released after a 2-night stay but continues to be on oxygen. Zarina, the 1-year-old, was quickly life-flighted to Primary Children's Pediatric Intensive Care Unit and has been placed on ECMO, a lung bypass machine, and is reportedly fighting for her life. Harwood says funds are dwindling due to being unable to work during this family crisis, and medical bills will soon start rolling in. They have set up a GoFundMe account and have been able to raise some money. KVNU News Time is 4:11. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Where news and talk comes first. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
As we usher in the holidays with great celebrations and eager expectations, Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services would like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Jessup Insurance is truly grateful to those who've made this past year so wonderful. Happy holidays from the entire team at Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services, let us guide you.
Cache Valley Bank's newest branch is now open in Preston. I'm Lance Zollinger, and I'm excited to announce Cache Valley Bank is now open inside Stokes Marketplace. If you're an existing customer, you'll love the convenience. If you're not a customer, we'd love to have you open a new account with us, or even talk with us about a loan for your farm or business. Cache Valley Bank, a community bank where decisions are still made locally, now open in Preston. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party, meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is a very gusty.
It looks stormy.
Yeah.
It looks like I wonder what it's going to do.
Sometimes
it has that look.
You just look at the clouds around the valley as they touch the top of those mountains, and you can just tell something
big is coming.
As the New Englanders say, storm a brewing.
A nor'easter.
A nor'easter. I kind of like weather like this because it gives you an excuse to be lazy. If you're a book reader, good excuse to just sit and read a book and do nothing else. But it is welcome.
Especially a book that starts off it was a dark and stormy afternoon.
It is very welcome, though. Any bit of moisture. Considering the summer we're just coming out of and potentially the summer that we could be heading into Every bit of moisture helps. This was the topic of a big announcement today in Salt Lake City that involved Utah State University. Why Salt Lake City, you say? Well, it was an announcement from the governor. So, of course, this happened just outside of the governor's office. But Utah State University President Noel Cockett and Governor Spencer Cox, in a joint announcement today, announcing a new school of research at Utah State University. We'll talk about this in more detail with some audio from the announcement as well coming up in hour 2 of today's show. But it is called the Institute of Land and Water and Air. And this is basically an opportunity to take research already happening at Utah State University and bolster it with some state spending. Also to better inform lawmakers as they continue to face these challenges in public policy discussions, which coming up as one example, coming up in the next legislative session, which kicks off towards the end of January, there is going to be a lot of focus on reservoirs. There is some money to spend coming from the federal government via the Build Back Better infrastructure bill. There's also still some money, state money, as well, that is built up, ending the year here with a $614 million surplus. Economy looking good, revenues up for the state. So there's going to be talk of a lot of any money there is to spend, either federal aid or state revenue collections, putting that towards mitigating any consequences of a potential second-year drought as bad as the drought we just are coming out of technically. We're still, by the way, in a drought category here in Utah because the moisture we've received so far, while significant, hasn't been what we should be getting at all. And so that drought designation hasn't lifted. The governor lifted the drought emergency declaration a couple of months ago, but the state of drought is still existent. But during this announcement today, one little bit to kick off today's show, because it's a bit of good news to start things off here today, the governor said that although reservoirs remain depleted beyond what they would normally look like this time of year, and by normal, yeah, there's a debate over this. What is normal in Utah? What is the new normal in Utah? Is climate change kind of shifting the normal in Utah? And that's, very likely the case. But there is, a few decades worth of normal we've experienced so far. So as a point of contrast, many reservoirs in Utah by this point in the year would have actually been replenished. If there were warmer temperatures, some of that, we do have snow melt as we're actually collecting snowpack in Utah. Traditionally, it's been a little unseasonably warm today, and that always happens here and there, and that's enough to get some water coming down. And those reservoirs, oftentimes, some of them fully replenished from summer use in the fall. That hasn't happened, the governor said. But one ray of hope on all this is there has been enough moisture in Utah, on average, throughout the state. There are some areas where there's still a lot of concern, but most reservoirs in the state have seen a lot of ground saturation around the reservoir. And the governor provided this as an example of what this new Institute of Research at Utah State University can be useful for directly feeding information to the legislature, to lawmakers independently, to boards and committees that might be convened to tackle these issues during the legislative session and beyond, which I'm sure a few will be created. And this information, the research being done at Utah State University, collecting it all and then bolstering it through some additional granting, some additional state spending if possible, that can actually just really ramp things up to the point that the governor said we can get on top of this. And then when the legislature has a conversation about, okay, where should the money go? If there's money to be spent to try and mitigate the effects of drought, what should it be? Should it go towards improving the technology used in agriculture and really focusing on conservation of water in agriculture, which is still where the majority of our water goes? Or should it be more long-term thinking, considering the growth in population expected here in Utah and that we've already seen? Should we be thinking, 10 years down the road as far as that goes? Should we be talking about building more reservoirs and the state helping, local decision makers do that? Should we be talking about dams or even removing dams? All of this is going to cost money. So the idea behind this new institute at Utah State University, and the reason the governor was involved in the announcement, is that they can take this information, like the information revealed by the governor today about the state of ground saturation around reservoirs, and they can then say, okay, things are looking okay in this area, very problematic in this area. Maybe some of the money this year should go towards that. So the news the governor had today, kicking off this joint press conference with USU President Noel Cockett also speaking alongside the governor, was that there has been enough moisture here in Utah this fall, even though it's, again, far below normal. There has been enough that we've actually seen significant ground saturation around the reservoirs, which means that if we do happen to get a better amount of snowpack than we did last year, or even, fingers crossed, a typical amount of snowpack, the ground saturation along the reservoirs means that when spring comes along in early summer and water use really starts to kick up, those reservoirs are going to be losing less of their water supply to it seeping into the ground around the reservoir because the ground is so dry. So that's one thing that the governor said came right out of research at Utah State University that has the state encouraged and also helps inform, again, their spending decisions they'll be making coming up in January with that 2022 legislative session kicking off, because they can say, okay, if the data shows us, the research shows us that ground saturation is significant and adequate, then we can let some of these reservoirs remain in their current state. Instead of spending money on revamping that reservoir, maybe the money will then go towards a different reservoir where ground saturation hasn't been as significant, meaning that reservoir is going to lose a lot of water in the spring and summer as temperatures climb to seepage into the ground around it. So we learned this on the show, by the way, and I forget the man's name, but he is a member of the USU Climate Center, and he's kind of known as the reservoir guy. And he said that was one of the most significant problems last summer when it came to reservoirs, second only to the fact that the snowpack wasn't feeding the reservoirs like it should have in the first place. Secondary issue that was very significant was a lot of dry ground around the reservoir. So sometimes upwards of 30% of the water coming into a reservoir is actually just seeping right back into the ground because everything is so dry. So the governor said today this is really welcome news. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to experience a drought, significant drought even next spring and summer. It doesn't mean that we're guaranteed the snowpack we're used to, which we're hoping for, but still, and we haven't seen yet. It has been a very atypical fall, and man, we're just days away from official winter at this point. So there are still a lot of red flags and warning signs, the governor said, but as an example of what this new institute at Utah State University can provide, information feeding it directly to lawmakers to say ground saturation is actually significantly improved. So maybe we can put off spending on some of these reservoirs and put that money elsewhere. Great example the governor provided today. Again, coming up in hour 2, we'll have audio of some of the highlights of today's press conference. Joint press conference today in Salt Lake City with USU President Noel Cockett and Governor Spencer Cox announcing the creation of a new Institute of Land, Water, and Air at Utah State University, hoping to better inform our public policy. Details on this, if you'd like to read it ahead of those highlights we'll have in hour 2, are on our Facebook page via the USU website, and an op-ed that Cockett and Cox wrote for the Deseret News. Those both linked on our website, at our Facebook page, at facebook.com/KVNUFTP, and we'll be back right after this.
Sometimes, when we catch a moment of wonder, it touches our hearts, especially during this, a season of light. This holiday season, explore the wonder of life at Loveland Living Planet Aquarium's Festival of the Seas. Discover a world of magic with seasonal treats, spectacular scenes, and a seaside Santa at Loveland Living Planet Aquarium. Make your reservation today at thelivingplanet.com.
This Christmas, give the gift of jewelry. See S.C. Needham Jewelers for an outstanding selection of diamond jewelry, rings, pendants, earrings, and bracelets. offered in white gold, yellow gold, and rose gold. We also offer the largest selection of loose diamonds in northern Utah in both natural and lab-grown diamonds. Select a beautiful diamond and have it mounted in a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry that will be cherished for generations. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7. S.C. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
Looking for ways to serve but don't know where to begin? Go to justserve.org, a free site to help those who want to serve find opportunities nearby. Just Serve has teamed up with organizations nationwide. Go to justserve.org and type in your city, and you'll see a list of service opportunities. Sign up on Just Serve to receive emails letting you know about new projects. Just Serve is fast, free, and easy. JustServe.org is provided as a service by The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Her name was Joanne, and she lived in a meadow by a pond. And she touched me.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Speaking of weather, National Weather Service of Salt Lake City is reporting, as Bill mentioned during the news there and as a bit during the start of the show, winter weather advisory for a good chunk of the state was announced today, starting at 5 p.m. And then later in the afternoon, they added Tooele County and Cache counties to this.
Well,
when I saw it this morning, I'm like, oh, phew, not us.
Well, they upgraded it. Now it's winter storm warning is what it is now. So that's.
Oh, sorry, I do see that.
Yeah,
updated.
They updated that, I think, about an hour and a half ago.
So winter storm warning, which does now include Tooele and Cache, and they're saying, as Bill mentioned, this starts at 5 p.m. They're expecting this to taper off, snow-wise at least, by tomorrow morning. And as you were saying, Bill, before the show started, it looks like this one moves in and out pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's supposed to be partly cloudy in the afternoon tomorrow, so but only upper 20s.
One of the warnings that they're issuing for the morning commute, even though they say the downfall will be tapering off by the time the morning commute comes around, the timing of the expected heaviest snowfall, National Weather Service of Salt Lake says the timing of this may mean that the clearing of certain non-interstate highways and local routes is possibly not going to be done by the time the morning commute kicks off, which I don't really know when we're calling that official. I know on the freeway it's about 6 a.m. is really when the traffic starts to ramp up. But here in Cache Valley, I'm not sure when the morning commute starts, whether it's 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. I know it's early. But that is one warning they're issuing, is that the anticipated heaviest snowfall may come at such a time that road crews haven't been able to get out and clear that as much as they would if it happened at midnight. So that's one thing to watch for in the morning, even though it's not expected to stick around or even be that aggressive of a storm. There is some concern that the timing of the heaviest snow could make that morning commute a bit messy. Throughout the state of Utah today, wind gusts in Uinta County and across the border into Wyoming reported at 65 and near Evanston a 72-mile-an-hour wind gust. Cache Valley, of course, throughout the day here under a wind advisory until 6 p.m., and gusts here in Cache Valley have been reported as high as 46 miles per hour, and you probably felt a few of those. So another warning that the National Weather Service is offering, and the Utah Highway Patrol repeating this as well, with those wind gusts. If we do start to see snowfall and rainfall, which we're seeing a little right now already when it comes to the rain.
And we're seeing Craig Hislop, too.
And Mr. Craig Hislop, who we'll be hearing from in a bit. He's got a report.
He opened the door to the studio.
He's got a report for us. Craig has had a busy week, and I'm excited about this. One of Craig's guests that he'll be bringing to the show here is Dr. Ed Redd, former state lawmaker Ed Redd, who is officially retiring. He retired from the legislature. Now he's retiring from his work with the Bear River Health Department and I believe private practice he was still running. I'm not sure about that. Don't quote me. So excited to hear from him. Dr. Redd, one of my favorite guests over the years, and Craig Hislop has pinned him down. Also some reporting that he's done on Utah State University and how the whole COVID thing's going up there. Vaccination rates, the slightly higher than the rest of the valley, COVID-19 related restrictions and things like that. Classrooms, full of students. How's it going? We'll have an update for you coming up on the other side of the news. But again, National Weather Service saying with the crossover in this afternoon portion of the wind advisory and the winter storm watch. Am I getting that right, Bill?
Yes, winter storm warning.
Winter storm warning, yeah. So we're going to have some crossover of the. It's expected that the wind advisory and the wind will stop in time.
Yeah, once the front comes through.
Usually the case. But the National Weather Service is saying for areas in specifically Cache County along the Wasatch Front, especially Davis County there on the Wasatch Front, and Tooele County, they're saying there may be some crossover. So they're warning drivers if you're going to be commuting between now and, say, 7 p.m. tonight, they're worried that there might be some crossover of those gusty winds and snowfall in some areas. And so be careful. Watch for hydroplaning.
Where'd they say
check your speeds?
I know that what 46 miles per hour has been our gust, but I think I saw something earlier. Ogden Peak, I guess that east of Ogden.
Oh yeah,
69 miles per hour.
Wow,
earlier today.
That's quite a bit of wind. Yeah, so that wind and snow. If you've ever been caught in that in Logan Canyon, those whiteout conditions, watch
Not
for
fun.
it. So keep an eye out, and National Weather Service and the Utah Highway Patrol saying, just reminding everyone, it might just be rain, but with gusty winds expected possibly until 7 p.m. Just keep an eye out for it. Watch for those puddles you can't see, and gusts of wind blowing rain and snow sideways across your vision can be very limiting as far as your line of sight goes. So slow your speeds down. Be careful out there. It's coming in as we speak. So, as I mentioned, on the other side, Mr. Craig Hislop, actually here at the station and just kind of poking and pointing at us through the windows here.
He's kind of meandering around.
He meanders. He'll be bringing us a report on Utah State University's campus and COVID-19. How's it been going? What are the vaccination rates? How's it working out as far as some tighter restrictions up there on campus with the classrooms and the gatherings and things like that being kind of necessary to some respects? How are things going on campus? A part of Cache Valley and, of course, interconnected with Cache Valley. Well, Mr. Craig Hislop has the deets, as the kids say. We'll get to that on the other side of this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
The deets. I like that. Yeah, very good. KB, thank you, Jason. News time 4:32, and KVNU News brought to you by the Duck Hunter. Women in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are not filling leadership positions traditionally held by men, but one expert on the faith says women's roles in the church are expanding. They are filling more speaking time during the church's worldwide conferences. More women also are a part of the church's iconic missionary force due to a key change made nearly a decade ago, but some say progress is not happening fast enough. Priesthood ordination is off limits to female members. Instead, every adult woman in the faith is a member of the Relief Society. The Navajo Nation on Monday reported 19 new confirmed COVID-19 cases, but no additional deaths. The latest numbers pushed the tribe's total to 40,519 cases since the pandemic began. The known death toll remains at 1,562. Tribal health officials reported 23 cases Sunday, plus one death, based on cases from November 26th through December 9th. The Navajo Department of Health issued an advisory for 58 communities due to uncontrolled spread of COVID-19. Tribal President Jonathan Nez has issued a reminder to get the vaccine or the booster as the holidays approach. And U.S. officials say the development of commercial advanced nuclear reactors intended to help combat global warming and enhance national security will need a better supply of the right type of nuclear fuel. The U.S. Department of Energy on Tuesday asked companies that might be interested in participating to send ideas concerning the agency's plans to establish a program to ensure the availability of high-assay, low-enriched uranium. The agency will use that information in preparing a report to Congress. KBNU News Time is 4:34.
How often should you change the filter on your furnace? A lot of people are surprised when they find out that most filters are only good for 60 to 90 days. Some cheaper filters won't even last that long. If you buy a good quality filter, you should still have it checked or replaced every year. Doing this will make sure your furnace runs more efficiently and keep the air that you breathe cleaner. For a free consultation, call the Duct Hunter, 770-4813.
KBNU weather, we do have a winter storm warning in effect from 8 o'clock this evening till 11 o'clock Wednesday morning for heavy snow expected. Total snow accumulation 2 to 5 inches on the valley floor, 4 to 8 inches along the benches. And this is in effect for the Cache Valley, Utah portion, also eastern Box Elder County, northern Wasatch Front, and the Salt Lake Valley. Travel could be very difficult. So travelers are advised to slow down and allow more time to reach your destination. Rain and snow this evening, then snow after midnight. Much colder accumulation, 2 to 4 inches on the valley floor, 4 to 8 on the benches, as we told you. Low near 20. And then tomorrow, mostly cloudy in the morning, a slight chance of snow, and then partly cloudy by afternoon, much colder, high temperature in the upper 20s. And then round 2, late Wednesday night into Thursday, more snow on the way, another inch accumulation possible Wednesday night, Thursday morning. It's been to 53. It's 48 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by LendRight Mortgage. They have interest rates that are usually 0.25% lower or more than other lenders. With an ultra low-cost business model, other lenders just can't compete. Buying or refinancing, call LendRight Mortgage at 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is financial advisor Clayton McMurdy with Edward Jones, bringing you the closing market report for Tuesday, December 14th. Equity markets traded lower amid the Omicron variant uncertainty and some caution ahead of the Fed meeting tomorrow. A pullback in technology stocks weighted on major indexes as the potential for interest rate hikes next year is pressuring valuations of high-growth stocks. Oil prices were lower but finished above $70 after the International Energy Agency revised down global oil demand, citing a temporary demand slowdown because of a rise in new COVID-19 cases that could impact air travel and jet fuel. The 10-year Treasury yield rose slightly ahead of the Fed's policy decision tomorrow. U.S. equities were lower today. The Dow was down 107 points at 35,544. The NASDAQ was down 176 points at 15,238, and the S&P was down 35 points at 4,634. In bond markets, the 10-year Treasury yield is currently at 1.44%, and in commodity markets, the price of crude oil was down 84 cents at $70.45. And the spot price of gold was down $17 to $1,771.50. In stocks of local interest, Apple was down $1.41 at $174.33. Autoly was down $1.69 at $98.90. Campbell Soup was down 59 cents at $43.07. GE down $1.02 at $92.11. Home Depot was down $3.04 at $402.20. Lowe's down $4.78 at $252.46. Nucor was up $2.87 at $118.42. Procter & Gamble up 58 cents at $158.25. R.R. Donnelley & Sons down 6 cents at $11.01. Thermo Fisher down $13.64 at $632.11. Wells Fargo was up 33 cents at $48.89. Walmart up $1.37 at $144.94. And Zions was up $1.10 at $62.27. This has been today's closing financial market report for Tuesday, December 14th, brought to you by Clayton McMurdy of Edward Jones, member SIPC, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1309 North Main Street in Logan. If you'd like any additional information, please give us a call at 435-753-0537. Stop by any of our 7 locations in Cache Valley or online at edwardjones.com.
At Winco, we're working to save you money. Big savings on top quality meat, produce, seafood, and deli. Bakery fresh breads, cakes, and cookies made daily in store. Low prices on top quality national brands and thousands of our own private label. In every aisle, every department, every day.
Now open in Logan at 1341 North Main Street.
When the bills from your accident pile up, it's time for you to consider professional legal counsel. Get the Bear. Berenson and Caldwell.
My dad was in a car accident. He was rear-ended by a work truck. He sustained some pretty bad injuries. What we didn't know at the time was that he also had sustained a traumatic brain injury, and it really affected his personality. You know, if he had just had an MRI, if he'd had someone pushing him to get checked out, make him feel confident that he wasn't going to end up going bankrupt with medical debt.
Visit BerensonLaw.com to instantly connect and receive a free case review of your injury. BerensonLaw.com.
I will be right by your side.
Women can have it all, including heart attacks. But symptoms like jaw pain, nausea, unusual fatigue, dizziness, and backache are often different and more subtle than for a man. The fact is, heart disease is the #1 killer of women. Know the signs. Learn more at getheartchecked.org. From Women's Heart Alliance, in partnership with Women Heart.
Hey everybody, coming up on the Wednesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, the COVID numbers keep going up. What are the policies going to be in the blue states, and what does it look like for freedom in the rest of the country? Plus, Clay?
We'll bring in Alex Berenson, our COVID data expert. We'll see what he thinks is the latest numbers storyline. Plus, Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee. It'll be the Clay and Buck Show. Come hang.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter in the studio as well. Got a lot to talk about. Again, a big announcement in downtown Salt Lake City today regarding USU. Utah State University President Noel Cockett and Governor Spencer Cox in a joint announcement of a new Institute of Research and Education at Utah State University that could not be more perfectly timed. It's called the Institute of Land, Water, and Air, and it will be a source of information, data, and ongoing research for state lawmakers, for communities, for counties and cities, all focused on, from climate change to our drought situation to our air quality issues in the winter and ozone issues in the summer. And this research is going to make our public policy smarter. And that was the big announcement today. We've got some highlights for you coming up in hour 2 of today's show. But still in the USU vein, our own Craig Hislop got curious and decided to do some asking about how the COVID-19 situation in Utah is going at Utah State University. We got some good news today. One of our lowest daily case totals from the Utah Department of Health since August. That's great news, especially as we're heading into that time that last winter gave us the biggest outbreak we'd seen yet in Utah. Also, no new cases of the Omicron variant reported here in Utah. That's 3 days in a row. That's also good news. So some very good news on the statewide front, but campuses are a bit different. Students, due to the nature of education and campuses in general by design, are grouping together a lot more. They are also, education sort of necessitates this, having to interact a lot more. Housing also. Students are usually packed in a little more than the rest of us. So how are things going? A few additional restrictions on campuses throughout Utah than the general public is faced with. And also, in some cases, higher, and in some cases lower vaccination rates than the general population where a university is located. So Mr. Hislop reached out to find out how things are going, what the picture looks like when it comes to COVID-19 and Utah State University. Here's Craig.
Well, thanks, Jason. Utah State University weathered the pandemic year of 2020, dealing with changes I think most of the nation's universities endured, and the school seems to have picked up a little bit of momentum in 2021. But how close to what we once called normal is USU now as it relates to COVID? USU spokesperson Amanda DiRito joins us. Amanda, how would you answer that question, since basically when fall quarter ended in 2019, soon after that, we were into the pandemic?
Well, we've seen a lot of our students get vaccinated against COVID-19, which has been key to keeping students in the classroom. We have on the Logan campus about 87% have said they are fully vaccinated or plan to be by spring semester. And, we've really seen a lot more classes in person, and we'll likely see more in the spring too as we do kind of return to this normal state. We're always, of course, looking at the future and anticipating what's coming, and we know that with Omicron that could give us some hiccups, but we know that when our students are fully vaccinated and our staff and faculty are, fully vaccinated, that we can do a lot more.
87% is a pretty good number.
Yeah, it is. I think it may have been a little higher than we all expected. I think it really shows that our students are very responsible, and they know that they have to do their part in order for us all to, stay in person, have events, and have the real student life experience.
You mentioned this a little bit, but is there any way to know exact numbers about how the ratio of remote classes to in-person classes has changed during the pandemic at USU? Because, as you said, probably more in-person classes now, I assume.
Yeah, and so, of course, when we first saw everyone, going remote for spring semester in 2020, it's changed drastically since then. I mean, a lot of classes are in person now, and we'll likely see that percentage go up for spring. People want to be in the classroom. Faculty want to teach in the classroom, and we know our students want to be there too. A lot of the experience of being at the university is really seeing each other and being in person.
Well, sure. Every day we report on the latest COVID numbers from the Utah Department of Health. I know you have a handle on the same numbers involving USU students and faculty and so forth, as you mentioned. At any given time, how many positive cases are there on campus?
So if you look at our dashboard today, we actually have a 7-day average of new cases of 5. So that means about 5 a day are being diagnosed. And, roughly right now we have about 77 active cases, somewhere around there. And, as people get well, they drop off, we get a few more cases. It's obviously much lower than it was last year. And that's really affirming that we're doing all the right things and, that we're extremely thankful for the COVID vaccine to be able to be in person and keep our case counts so low.
I assume there's still quarantining going on?
Absolutely. Our case containment team is still at work. So when a student or anyone else is diagnosed on campus, they look at contacts, they look who has been exposed, who isn't already vaccinated, and they make sure that people know what they need to be doing.
Do you find that when it comes to the students and the faculty and staff, that these are people that self-report when they get sick and go to the right place to get tested, I guess?
Yeah, we actually are finding that our students and staff and faculty do get tested when they're sick, and we do have a testing center on the Logan campus. It stays pretty busy. And what's been interesting is even when someone forgets to report to the university, if someone, eventually calls them to check in, they say, oh, yeah, I'm in quarantine or I'm isolating at home. People really know what to do at this point. They've heard it enough that everyone is definitely much more careful.
Are masks required in class?
So masks are not required in class. They are encouraged, and that's part of, the whole process of keeping us all in person. So that we can continue to have events and have our classes meeting, in person all the time.
Well, it sounds as if things are pretty much under control regarding COVID, and Amanda DiRito has updated us. Amanda, appreciate you taking some time for us here.
Thank you.
Let's get back to Bill and to Jason now.
Thank you, Craig. And there you have it, a look at how things are going on campus when it comes to vaccination rates, requirements, mask mandates. Mr. Hislop digging into that. You'll hear from Craig Hislop again this week. He'll be back with us tomorrow, sitting down with Dr. Ed Red, one of my absolute favorite people in Cache Valley. When he was involved with the legislature as a state lawmaker, his contributions were significant and level-headed. He never got caught up in, the national fervor of partisan rhetoric. Just an all-around great state lawmaker. Retired from that position to deal with some personal health issues. And now, hopefully to travel and have a good time. He's retiring from his work with the Bear River Health Department and even some time in private practice, retiring as a doctor. So we'll check in with Dr. Ed Red on what is, he's too humble to say it this way, but kind of a lifelong legacy of good service, really. Both professionally and as a state official, as a public lawmaker. So Dr. Ed Red will be joining us tomorrow on the show, courtesy of our good friend Craig Hislop, who you just heard there. If you want to know more about the state of things at Utah State University, the Utah Department of Health's coronavirus website actually breaks it down by university when it comes to vaccination rate and more. And it's really interesting to look at because you can see these trends. She mentioned them. Amanda mentioned them there briefly in the interview. But you can see these trends, and they don't track with. So outbreaks on campuses haven't always tracked with outbreaks in the community, which kind of remind you that campuses can be their own little island within a community in certain ways. But also, there are times when they do track together, reminding you that campuses aren't entirely an island within a community. What happens at Utah State University affects Cache Valley and vice versa. So it's interesting. You can see the trend over the last 2 years there in the graphs at coronavirus.utah.gov. Thanks again to Craig Hislop and Amanda Dorito. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People right after this.
Dad, I just love the holidays.
I think my favorite part is the Christmas music.
I'll have a balloon, Jeep Gladiator, for Christmas.
Ford Mustang, roasting rubber tires. Or, come on, it's lovely weather for a wrinkle ride together with you.
Wow, Taylor, you're great at this.
All I want for Christmas is an F-150. What do you want for Christmas, Dad?
I'm dreaming of a white Ram truck.
No matter what your favorite part of the holidays, West Motor is here to make it brighter.
It's no secret that inventory is limited, but the quickest way to get your new truck is to have one built specifically for you.
At West Motor, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Ford.
Get the features you want, the equipment you need at the right color. We throw in some big discounts and we'll build that truck just the way you like it.
West Motor Company.com.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the getaway guru for Morris Columbus Travel and Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. Cruise the Mexican Riviera aboard the Navigator of the Seas, sailing round trip from L.A. to Cabo, Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta with 30% off all guests, plus an additional savings of up to $350. For the best travel deals on the planet, call Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
Logan Dental Associates has been serving Cache Valley for over 20 years. They are excited to announce the addition of Dr. Brandon Preby, hygienist Emily Preby, and Dr. Curtis Taylor. Dr. Preby and Dr. Taylor will also continue to work at Cherry Creek Dental in Richmond. Now allow for increased hours and advanced services at Logan Dental Associates in Logan. Call and make your appointment with Dr. Brandon Preby or Dr. Curtis Taylor at Logan Dental Associates by calling 435-787-8207.
Stop saying, it's not my problem.
It's not a big deal.
It was a one-time incident.
Who am I to say how someone should discipline their kids?
That doesn't happen in our community.
They're our friends. I don't want to get involved. He said he would hurt me.
I'm afraid to go to sleep.
I didn't know better.
5 children die every day from abuse and neglect. That's 5 too many. Help end child abuse and neglect.
Visit childhelp.org for more information on how you can help.
On the next Handle on the Law.
There is no reason you can't say I want a brand new computer because the $600 screen is broken. You would legally be entitled to $600. I don't think you're entitled to anything. All you can do is sue your boyfriend for negligent parental supervision. And the defense is, hey, my kid went up there and broke the computer. The law or the court would say, Linda, things happen in life. It's Handle on the Law, Saturdays from 1 to 4 on News Talk KVNU, the voice of Northern Utah.
I thought love was only true in fairy tales, and for someone else, but not for me. Our love was out to
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People.
That's the way it seemed.
Bill's having his own little Monkeys memorial here with the music this hour.
Yeah, it's hard to... There's only one left. One monkey
that's
left.
Right.
And the lead singer of that song, Mickey Dolenz, as Michael Nesmith passed away late last week, Friday.
Friday afternoon was when I first saw it. So, and I missed the age, but you said 78.
Yeah, 78. I think you would have been 79.
Wow.
This month.
Still remember summer times. Those, we'd come in for lunch after playing hard all morning with the neighborhood kids, and come in for lunch, and the Monkees, followed by the Carol Burnett Show, were reruns every afternoon at noon to 1, and that was, we could sit and watch that. That was one of our hours of TV allowed, and I kind of got into that show as a kid, even though I didn't understand most of it, but.
Well, Mike Nesmith was a very talented musician, and he produced music videos before those were in vogue. He kind of pioneered the country rock format. Before the Eagles.
That's just sad to see some of these artists go, but left an impact, say the least. And I don't care. You can sell everyone you want. I've heard people say, "Oh, I can't stand the Monkees. They were just a Beatles knockoff." When you hear a Monkees song, though, your foot still taps.
If you've ever seen the Beatles movie Help, especially, and to a certain extent, A Hard Day's Night, the Monkees TV show was modeled after those madcap Beatles movies.
And as I understand it wasn't intended to ever really be a big national or internationally touring band. It was intended to be a TV show
about a band, about a band that was not very successful.
Yeah, and then it just kind of took off, more than anyone expected it to, and all of a sudden, they decided there was an expectation among their fans that they become a rock band, and they did.
Don Kirshner, who apparently clashed with Michael Nesmith quite a bit, because they had different visions of what they wanted this to become. But Don Kirshner was very shrewd in that he got the Monkees to record, of course, with studio musicians, but them doing the vocals, a big hit song before the TV show came out.
Oh,
and
really?
So I think
that's right.
So I think the song was a huge success. And then the TV show started, and it's a TV show starring this band, the Monkees, this song that I just can't get out of my head that's on the radio all the time. And, great marketing ploy, getting the song out there first. It became a huge hit. Of course, it's a gamble. You don't know if a song's going to take off or not. But Don Kirshner had a pretty good record of being able to spot what type of song was going to be a hit.
He's famous for several, songs that we think of as classics. I can't think of any of them right now, but I remember reading about him and his work with.
I think he got Neil Diamond his start as well.
It's just it's an era of music that's so interesting to me, and I've always liked the Monkees story again because they didn't expect it to become what it became. They sort of became a second Beatles. And so the criticisms always seemed ironic to me because they were actually trying to be something different. They were trying to be a TV show about musicians that would also record songs, original to the TV show. And then the public kind of demanded they become a rock band and tour. And so they did. And I always thought that was kind of a cool story. Not usually how an artist gets on the map, right?
And on their first tour, I think they had Jimi Hendrix as their opening act, who was not really known at the time.
Very funny. Oh, man. Coming up in Hour 2, highlights from the announcement today. Governor Spencer Cox and USU President Noel Cockett talking about a new Institute of Land, Water, and Air research at Utah State University to better inform public policy. And United States Senate candidate as an independent, Evan McMullen, calling for Senator Mike Lee to, quote, come clean on his involvement in the January 6th insurrection. We'll talk about it all in Hour 2 here on